What's up, y'all? You're tuned in to another episode of The Boyd. As always, special show tonight. Special because you're here listening to it. And also special because I have Scott Kasierski on, man. I'm excited to have you on, Scott.
I'm very happy to be here.
I don't think you realize how excited I am because I think you have a lot to offer that people want to hear. Not kidding.
I'm just really happy to be here. I've listened and enjoyed The Boyd, and who wouldn't want to be part of The Boyd?
I'm sure there's plenty of folks out there that wouldn't necessarily want to be part of The Boyd. But I still feel like a dork even having a podcast. So that must make you an extra dork being on the Dorks podcast. So welcome to Dorkdom, if you didn't know you were there already. So as I start out all my other shows with a brand new guest and everything, I have a couple questions for you to start this off, and then we'll sort of blossom out from there. Okay. So the first question is, how would you describe where you are in life right now?
I would say that right now I'm in a very comfortable, surprisingly happy place that I never would have predicted ever.
Awesome. Okay, so describe that a little bit more. Like, why do you say that? Why is that your answer?
If you had told me 10 years ago I would be living in Florida, working in the financial services industry,
You can go sit down, man. God.
and be gray-haired and getting fat, I'm not sure I would have believed that. And I'm pretty happy with being gray-haired and fat.
Okay,
so
I was going to say that doesn't sound quite as positive as you made it out to be at first.
Maybe I like it more than I expected.
I see. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that you're in a good place in life right now. All right, so how'd you get here? Start from the beginning.
Sure. I grew up in a small town in central Massachusetts. Went away to college in Minnesota. Met my then girlfriend, now wife, and satisfied my lifelong dream of becoming a lawyer. Spent 13 years being a country lawyer in rural western Kentucky and discovered that my lifelong dream kind of sucked when it came true. So,
all right, we're going to come back to that, but keep going.
So 7 years ago, came to Jacksonville thinking I needed to do something for a living. My wife got a job here, and we moved here for her work, with the idea that I would go along and find something to do and join the company I'm with now, which I had been a client of before. Thought I would do it for about 2 months before I figured out what I wanted to do and discovered that I loved it, and just kind of stumbled into this whole new career at a relatively late age.
Okay. So I do want to go back to you being the country lawyer and this sort of the death of the dream in a way, how it must have fizzled out, I guess.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Hey, Nika, go lay down, man. Hey,
This
that's
is
enough.
This is the part of the podcast where I'm devoured by a dog.
Yeah, hold on a second. All right, sorry. I had to yell at my dog for a second. I didn't really yell at him. Did I yell at him?
No.
He won't listen. He won't stop.
It was corrective discipline given with love.
That crazy dog. All right. What were we even talking about? He won't. Now he's. Dude, just go sit down, man. Thank you. Oh, you're such a good dog. I owe you a treat. Remind me later.
Sounded like you were about to go into the death of my dream.
Oh, no, yeah, you will go into that later. What I want to talk about, so tell the folks out there what you do right now.
I am a person providing training in a corporate environment.
So you're a trainer?
I'm a trainer. I'm a corporate trainer.
Okay.
For a large American corporation.
Jeez, ambiguous, huh? So you're I'm going to get a little bit less ambiguous. You're a trainer at a brokerage firm.
Yes.
All right, so it at least gives people context as to what the hell you're training. I mean, there's a lot of corporations out there. I mean, you could be a trainer for Exxon Valdez or something, or is that even a thing anymore? Is that was actual ship? Well, you could be trainer on the ship, I guess. Well, that former. Did they ever fix it?
No.
I don't know.
It pretty
Maybe
much
it was
sank.
an unfixable thing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying. I don't know why I chose them first. Or, for instance, I used to work for Convergys Corporation. That wasn't so fun. So for all you Convergys folks out there, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so that training is quite a bit different than I think than what we do.
Yes.
I also work with Scott in the same field.
We're teachers, basically. We're classroom teachers, only instead of teaching children, we teach adults.
Is there that? How much difference is it? Does it feel like there is sometimes? Mind you, some of your students might be listening, and former students.
Yes.
But I'll tell the truth. I don't care if they're listening.
I'd say it varies from person to person.
Mm-hmm.
Some people I feel like I'm seeing the exact same person sitting in front of me wearing a button-down shirt that I would have seen wearing a concert T-shirt in junior high.
Wait, say that again? You see a button-up shirt person in what?
And I can see that they're exactly the same as they would have been in junior high.
Oh, you just dressed them different.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
They basically are the same person they always were, and they put on a button-down shirt.
Sometimes I feel that way.
Yes.
See me. Yeah, I don't know, man. Sometimes it's, especially dealing with the licensing thing like I deal with, like you expect people to be like adult and stuff. It's not always the case. Not always the case. So that gets a little frustrating, but this isn't about that. So what do you like so much about your job?
I like thinking that there's going to be a ripple effect to it. That if I teach someone how to do something well, that they'll then pass that on to their clients, and I've helped this one person learn how to do something, and they're going to do that thing and do it well and help thousands and thousands of people. And that people they'll never know where that came from necessarily, but they'll just know that they're better off. And I really like that. I think it's something where you can have a real impact. And I think that's probably true of every job.
Yeah.
I think of this morning I woke up, I turned on the water, and I had nice, hot, clean water that I could drink and shower with. Mm-hmm. And it took a lot of people to make that happen. And I don't know their names, and I don't even think about them most of the time. But they made my life better, and I appreciate that. And I like to think that I can have that impact as well.
Do you think about that a lot?
I do.
You really do? I think that too. It sort of bothers me sometimes. I wonder what it's like to not. I don't know that I necessarily want to put myself in that on purpose, because I feel like I'm constantly trying not to. Right? Otherwise I wouldn't go to work every day, and I wouldn't do these things. Not that I don't like work and blah blah, just in case my boss is listening. But I'm saying though, I would rather not go to work if we're looking at what I would be doing with my life.
I would definitely not go to work.
Knowing that this is a finite period of time that we have.
Yeah. And certainly if they stopped paying me, I'd stop showing up.
Sure.
I like what I do, but I wouldn't do it for free.
Yeah, okay. What would you do for free?
What would I do for free?
If you could. If someone was just taking care of you.
I would probably sit on a beach somewhere.
Just sit
Yes,
all the time?
I absolutely could do that.
And do nothing?
I, if left to my own devices, would be the laziest person on earth.
For a decade?
For a decade.
On the beach doing nothing?
I believe I could do that.
Wow, okay.
I believe if left to my own devices, I would contribute nothing to society whatsoever.
I feel that way too, but I think I would go nuts if I just sat on a beach all the time. Like, you wouldn't be fishing or like surfing or activity of some sort?
I might read a book.
Bocce ball.
I might read a book. I don't know. Maybe after a few months of that, I would get
Sunburn.
I would have to go do something.
Yeah.
I'd like to test that though.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, I always, I say to people, you know, I talk about, what was that thing, that show about the, how the lottery ruined your life and this and then, or just talking about when you get more money and get rich and like you get more problems and you're going to ruin your life. And I always wonder if someone would just let me try that out and let me see. They might be right. They might be right. Just give me the lottery winnings and let's try this experiment out.
I'm curious. At your core, do you think you would be the same person if you were tremendously wealthy? If someone dropped $100 million on you right now, would you, at your essence, still be the Boyd, or would you become something different?
The Boyd as a persona, I don't really know what that. You mean who I am now?
Yes.
Never really referred to myself as the Boyd, just the show. But interesting. Okay, so I don't know. How do you know? I mean, I feel like the sum of my experiences have sort of totaled to what I am now, and it's, you know, constantly adding to that equation. If I was going to go along this math analogy, so I don't know. I feel like I don't know. What is my nature versus what has happened to me? Can I even make that? Can I even distinguish that myself? Can you distinguish that yourself? Like, would you, if I asked you that same question? And how would you know?
I don't know that I would know, but I believe it would change me if I had a lot of money. But
well, if you had a lot of money now or always had a lot of money?
Oh, if I always had money, I would be just a complete tool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I wonder if I would be one. Maybe. You know, I don't know though. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I don't know anymore, to be honest with you. Lately I've been having a lot of questions about, I guess I don't know, probably for lack of a better term, like relative moralism or whatever. I don't know. It's a good question, because then I wonder what is in my nature to be a certain way. Like, so for instance, like if someone needs help in my neighborhood, I've helped a number of people in my neighborhood with their cars and stuff. Like, I don't ask for money or don't expect anything back. And some folks might say, well, you know, you could at least get some kind of compensation or something back. And I don't know, I would feel very weird. You know, I just know that they needed help and I can help them, so I feel like I can't say no. And sure, I don't deep down want to spend time out of my evening that's already overbooked to help them do something. But they needed help, you know what I mean? And so, but I don't think everyone feels that way. But sometimes I wonder, is that something I was raised with? And I can't point necessarily to a specific thing, or is that something that I just sort of innately want to do against any better judgment?
I could be wrong about this, but I think it's innate about you, and I believe that you would not be changed by a huge amount of money, and that you would still be that guy who'd be helping people with their cars and things like that.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think so, because I think I would. I don't know, but I think that's if I had money now. But I don't know what it would be like to always have had money.
That's maybe a challenge we can throw out to the listeners. Send James Boyd money, and let's see what happens.
Kay Cassiano's asking about affluenza.
Affluenza, yes.
You know about affluenza?
Used as a defense in a recent court case.
Yes, the lawyer comes out.
Yes, the lawyer.
Opine, would you please?
It was a
Counsel.
case where a young kid was driving drunk, I believe, and killed someone.
Yeah.
I think several people. And among the arguments was that he was unable to appropriately judge what he should do because he had been raised to be very wealthy, so he had not really developed empathy. I think
What do you think about that idea?
My gut reaction was it was a crock, and that this guy really needed to be pummeled.
But didn't it work though?
Arguably, it worked to reduce his sentence a little bit, but he's still going to spend some time in jail. Probably not as much as he should. And he'll certainly, if nothing else, and maybe this is the good effect from that terrible argument, is he may be someone who may just get, he may do very poorly in jail if word gets around to the other inmates as to what his defense was.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
Yeah, and there really is a sort of moral code in prisons that I thought was fascinating, and that I found out a little bit about when I was practicing law, that there were certain inmates, certain people who were not going to do well in jail because of what they were known for. And it's well known, I think, that child molesters do very, very poorly in prison because a lot of the people who are incarcerated were themselves victims. And they'll say, okay, you can steal money from someone.
Sure.
I get that. But if you mess with a child, you
That's
come to
beyond.
my cell block and I'm going to take you out.
Yeah, wow. So I can imagine affluenza must be over the top.
He will probably not do well in jail. That's my fond wish, at least.
Well, yeah, I'd hope not.
I will say one good thing about having been a lawyer was getting to see all sorts of people at their most raw. People tell you their stories, and you find out just remarkable things about people. They confess things that sometimes have nothing to do with their legal situation, but they just tell you. You almost become like a psychologist for them.
Like what? Like what do you mean? I mean, without getting into specific detail, obviously, within your legal bounds.
Yeah.
That you already know. Oh, whoops! Almost.
I would periodically do a divorce for someone, and divorces were legally not that difficult, but there was always so much emotional stuff going on that you would find out everything about the marriage and their life. And be like, I'm just trying to divide up the house. I don't need to know about how this person hurt you necessarily. But you'd find out that sort of thing. And just met all sorts of interesting people and saw different sides of life and found out things I didn't expect about people.
So what was, and I want to get back to that, but what was it you think that drew you away from practicing law?
It is, in the way I was doing it, largely about conflict. And I'm a conflict resolver. I was one who would tell people, like, yeah, I think we can win your case, but you're going to have to spend $10,000 on me. And it's just not worth it for you. I can't in good conscience recommend that you pay me all that money for probably winning. And the constant stress of everything was conflict.
Well, I mean, so yeah, it's about winning, but I mean, it's really about representation, though, too. If they just don't have a good case, how can you build up the case? I guess if you weren't very good at building a case.
If I thought somebody had a lousy case, I'd tell them they had a lousy case. I didn't take a lot of cases that I didn't believe.
Oh, really?
And also, it was very hard to ask people to pay the sums of money that it takes to defend them or to work on their case. It's hard to say to someone, particularly when you're pretty young, like, yeah, I'll be happy to help you out, just give me $10,000.
Yeah.
And where I was in Kentucky, a lot of people didn't have that kind of money to give anyway. I had one of my last cases was a child custody dispute.
Were you the only lawyer in town?
Now there were about 60 of us
at
the time.
But I mean, were they all basically the same rate, roughly?
Yeah, within a relative range.
All right, so we have someone calling in. Should we answer it?
Absolutely. I'm a little bit frightened.
Hey, you're on the board. Who's this? Uh-oh. Do we have them on? Yep, I can hear you all right. Not a whole lot. Wait, who's this again? Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Sorry, I didn't have my headphones in. Doing all right, man. So what's going on? What's on your mind? You want to ask Scott something?
In good conscience, charge a fee or tell them, hey, this is what I can do for you, and I can't guarantee anything. And I think that's a very, I don't want to say noble thing, but you don't really hear about that nowadays when it comes to lawyers. And having to deal with lawyers recently, I think that's something very commendable in regards to that.
Well, thank you, Keith.
That's pretty cool.
So,
yeah, I mean,
was that
I can
something that
sort
you
of
dealt with
understand.
on a
Well, go ahead.
daily basis, or was that something you went through all the time?
It was a constant struggle, I'd say, to get the right case and to get cases I felt like I could both believe in, could win, and could get paid for. Having the right confluence of those three things was a challenge for me.
When you finally had the time to get the proper documentation or the right information that you needed to build a strong case, did you think that what you were going up against made it more difficult for you to, like just using my example, when it came to my case, we had a very strong case, but even though we were going after a certain party in a lawsuit, me as the victim of the incident was still subject and kind of fighting an uphill battle as a lawyer?
Absolutely. And I certainly saw that happen where I'd think I could see the result and oftentimes predict the end result pretty clearly to say this dispute is worth X dollars. And 2 years later, the case would end up and the result was a result of X dollars by a judgment or a decision by the court. But by spending 2 years and arguing about everything and fighting and filing all these documents and motions and arguments, reaching that X result cost so much money that when it was all over, everybody felt like they lost.
Was
That's
that
part of just our system,
part
which
of it?
is so disputatious.
Do you think that was what kind of
Ostentatious.
took the
What did you say?
prestigious part about being a lawyer away from you and your dream of being a lawyer?
Say that again, Keith?
I was questioning whether or not you thought that was one of the main factors that kind of took away from you holding being a lawyer at such a prestigious level. Not saying you held it there like on a pedestal, but thinking that being a lawyer was such a noble cause and you're doing right for the people that needed your help. Now it's kind of like red tape that you're going through.
That was a big part of it. It really was. And another big part of it was lawyers can really be douchebags. And I certainly could be. Back in the day, I wrote some letters and said some things that I'm not really proud of.
As part of a case?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't just do it for fun. I wasn't.
I don't.
I was a professional
Hoity-toity
douchebag,
lawyer.
not a hobbyist douchebag.
Okay.
Well, that's something I always wondered about you. I know that when you talk about being a lawyer, you're very proud of the accomplishment itself. Passing the bar is a very commendable feat, just like passing any other type of licensing. But I could see that what you were kind of put through as a lawyer itself kind of weighed on you, and I was always curious about that.
It really did weigh on me, and I think you hit on something that was definitely true for me. I enjoyed saying I was a lawyer more than I enjoyed actually being a lawyer. So it was good for everyone that I got out of it.
Do you think there is something that needs to be improved overall, just from your experience and what you went through when it comes to our legal system, that would make people like you, people that genuinely just want to help people and be there for people, do you think more and more lawyers like you are stepping back from the game, if you will, and moving on with their lives?
I wouldn't say that. There are so many lawyers out there who I know really did care and were passionate and wanted things to work well and wanted to do things the right way. But it's sort of this overarching system and this nature of conflict that wears on them. I know there have been studies that show lawyers are some of the most unhappy people in the world. Dissatisfaction with the profession, suicide rates, things like that, I just can say I didn't know any happy lawyers.
You didn't know any happy lawyers?
I'm not sure I knew any. There's maybe one who I know really loved the fight and the struggle, but he was a little bit crazy.
I can imagine it'd be a little bit fun.
Parts of it were fun, and
or scary. Oh man, that would be a lot. What if you lost?
That's a terrible feeling. That's a terrible feeling to have to explain to the client when they look at you and say, like, what was that decision? And you have to say, that just means we lost, and we'll appeal. And yeah, that's a terrible feeling, but it's a great rush. The times you'd sit in the courtroom and the judge would ask if we were ready for trial, stand up, say, yes, Your Honor, and then he turns to the clerk and he would say, Mr. Haddock, pull 12 jurors.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
And the first time I got to say, I object before a judge and a jury, I felt like I was about 20 feet tall. That was about half an hour before the case was dismissed.
How did it work out for you?
We lost that one.
Well, awesome. Hey, Keith, thanks for giving us a holler. Hope you're enjoying the show. Mr. Kasierski here. Probably a lot more interesting than a lot of folks out there knew at first. I think we all thought you were interesting, man. I did. I mean, that's why I wanted you on the show, because I'm sure you got all sorts of crazy stuff out there. I mean, it's interesting to see things from the side of the lawyer. I mean, so when you're prepping the case, what's going through your mind?
Very much like the feeling you're familiar with prepping a class. Trying to think through all the things that might happen, trying to anticipate what sort of issues may arise. How would somebody looking at this from the outside look at it?
Yeah.
Trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes and trying to think of how to make things comprehensible so a judge or jury who have a million other things on their mind, how you can cut through the mental clutter that they have and get them to agree with your salient points.
That must be tough.
It is, and one of the things I found as well was that when I won something, even if I won with a great argument and won something that there's no way we should have won, and we changed the law, did something new and exciting, every client always believed they were 100% right. So I'd come back and I'd say, we won that case. The judge agreed with that motion, and
you're like actually setting new legal precedent.
Yes.
Sometimes.
And the client would be like, well, of course, I told you I was right.
When there wasn't any legal precedent, they already knew they were right. Well, I mean, I wonder if in their mind they were right according to like some moral code or something that they expected the judge would adhere to or something.
Yes.
Is that what they were maybe getting at?
Or their just innate sense of justice said that this person should have to do what I say.
Mm-hmm. Like what? I mean, can you give an example of something like that? Like, what would be a legal precedent-setting case?
We had one case that involved interpretation of an insurance contract providing coverage for horses that were at a horse show.
Wait, hold on. Was there like was someone being sued?
Yes.
Who was suing whom?
There were a whole bunch of different parties suing a whole bunch of different people.
All in the same case?
Yes. This horse got loose from someone,
Okay.
ran through this little fairgrounds and was able to get out onto a street where it was hit by a car.
Oh!
That then hit another car.
What?
And then that caused significant, devastating injuries to someone in one of the cars.
Wow.
And
All from a horse
Yeah.
getting out.
yeah, from something that you would
At a
think-
sanctioned event.
Yes, at a sanctioned event. So pretty
Just a
much,
mistake. Whoops. Something happened. Sanctioned event. It wasn't like I was willy-nilly in a municipal park with my horse.
Right.
It was.
right.
And then now the question is, who
Who pays how much?
pays for this?
Which of the motorists, the people who own the horse, the people who transported the horse, the people who were responsible for securing the horse, the grounds where the horse thing was taking place. Everybody was suing everybody else,
Wow.
and the thing we happened to win on was
Wait, who are you representing?
at the time representing the I can't remember if it was the family of the person who was injured or if it was I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
I think it was the family of the person who was injured.
Okay.
But we were working closely with some other people who had assigned their rights to us.
Oh, to
Yeah,
act
there were all
on
sorts of
or represent
complicated
them
contractual things.
on your
Yeah.
behalf, on their
Yeah.
behalf.
Yeah. And we won with a novel interpretation of one line of the insurance policy.
Wow. So that made it so that the insurance company had to pay.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it ultimately settled on appeal. So that was the sort of thing. But that case also took years and years and years.
Wow. What was your most stressful case?
The most stressful ones for me were ones that involved child custody.
Ooh,
One of my
man.
last cases was a guy who had some troubles, but he was trying to get custody of his children back from his ex-wife. His ex-wife, who I felt we were able to establish pretty clearly that she was a meth dealer. And he
A
wanted-
meth dealer.
Yes, and manufacturer. She was manufacturing as well. She was small-time Walter White. And
Right.
he didn't want his kids around her. So we
Wait,
argued
you were
each
able to make a case for this, but yet the cops didn't bust her?
No, she was never arrested, and that was one of the things that hurt our argument. That because I had some fairly, I thought, convincing testimony from people who knew her who said, yeah, she's selling meth, but they didn't want to testify, and they hedged a lot.
Did she have like a network of thugs?
No. Well, not that I know of.
Maybe
Nobody ever came
maybe
after
she
me.
was supplying them with meth.
Maybe I should have been on this podcast under an assumed name, because maybe they're going to come.
Oh,
if I turn up
geez.
missing,
Well, nobody knows who you're talking
Yeah.
about, and I guess they can go try to scour Kentucky court records for ever back. They don't even know when exactly. Well, I guess you from the beginning,
Yeah.
maybe somehow could piece of, I don't know, whatever.
tell you my favorite client though.
But wouldn't there be some kind of summary? Don't they do a summary of those cases? And like I swear, my friend in New Orleans, he writes court decision summaries.
Yeah, this was just a little one in family court, so there was never.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
And
you were
that's a
going to
tough
say.
one. So I felt very strongly my client was right. He ran out of money pretty quickly on in my representation, and at that point I was ethically allowed to leave the case because he couldn't pay me.
Mhm.
He couldn't pay me because he was poor. It's not that he didn't want to pay me, but I kept fighting that case because I was convinced that these kids were going to be in a bad situation if they didn't get away from their mother.
Sure.
And the judge ultimately held that we hadn't satisfied the standard of showing that custody should be changed, because there's a strong presumption once you
Yeah.
set custody that that's the way it's going to stay. And she felt we didn't meet that standard. So after this long struggle where I'd put in tons of hours of work knowing I wouldn't get paid, we didn't get a good result. So then I was like, screw this.
Wow. Well, I mean, and you, of course, you want to help everybody that you can, but I mean, you got to make a living too.
Right.
And you got family and all this stuff,
And you'd every once in a while have someone walk into the office and they'd have like some great argument about some fascinating principle of the law, but it'd be over like a $500 dispute. It's like, yeah, you know, this would be a great Supreme Court case, but it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to the Supreme Court, and I can't work for free.
right? Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that would be tough to maintain that. Oh yeah, I was going to ask you, what was your sort of kookiest case?
One of my favorites was a great one. A couple had their first child together, and they took their photos to Walmart to have them developed. And they got their photos back, and without their knowledge or permission, Walmart copied their daughter's photograph and started using it in advertisements.
Because it was that good, huh?
Yeah. And this couple did not want their child's photograph out there.
Sure. Yeah.
And in fact, the hospital where the child was born would put up a wall of all the pictures of all the babies who were born, and this
didn't
couple
put the
did not
Walmart.
want that. They were worried
Oh, okay.
about. They were a little bit paranoid about things like child abduction and all that.
Sure,
So
okay.
they were like, "We're going to keep this private," and,
Yeah.
and it was upsetting to them to see that without their knowledge or consent, all of a sudden there were posters of their baby up in Walmart. So they came to me, and I started pursuing action against Walmart.
Wow.
And I loved that, and that was interesting.
So when you take a picture at their photo place, they don't make you sign some kind of thing.
They do now.
Oh
They
no
do
way!
now.
Well,
That's
so
your case.
Yeah, they produced a release to us like a week after.
see, that's
First
why
contacted
you got to
the
sign so many
manufacturer.
releases all the time.
Yeah. Because of douchebags like me. That's why.
No, it's because of
I signed
douchebags
paperwork.
like Walmart that just take your shit. So now they basically say, "Look, if you want to take a picture here, we own your shit."
Yeah.
Probably, I bet that's what they.
Or
It's not the other way around.
they get you to sign a consent if they think they might use it in an advertisement.
How bullshit is that? I mean, like, you go there to take family photos,
Mm.
and then they don't have to pay for someone to have. I mean, to go
Yeah.
get modeling talent. However, actually, it might be good. I take that back because they're actually using real examples of their photos.
Right.
All right, so maybe that's good on Walmart.
And
But
some,
you should at least ask people.
exactly. And
No,
some
they
people
won't
on the
weasel
internet
them out
were-
of their
yeah.
royalties or anything.
Some people on the internet were arguing at the time because a few stories about this got out in newspapers and all that. And some people were like, oh, come on, these people are just money grubbing, trying to get money from Walmart. And, they see a payday here. My thought of it was like, you have a gigantic corporation that is basically stealing free labor.
Yeah.
If they,
Well, it's not even free labor because they have to pay Walmart to get their photos done.
Right.
So they're actually paying Walmart to take their photo and use it
To
to
make
promote
money.
their own thing.
Exactly.
I mean, the least Walmart could do is offer them a few $100s and say, "Look, can we use this photo? It's really good." Or just say, "Look, as you're signing paperwork that gives permission for Walmart to use it, say if we choose to use it, we'll compensate you with some form of recompense at some point, if we use your photo."
yeah.
I don't see why they couldn't have been less jerky about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea that they're using real, legit Walmart, photographs for their advertisements.
It's a very cute girl, too. It's a good picture.
Yeah.
I understand why they wanted to do it. They just should have paid my clients for that, right?
Yeah.
Or asked them first, at least.
That's pretty cool.
So I had that. One of my favorite clients, or most interesting ones, was a guy I represented in a civil case against his employer. And he had been injured on military leave. He served in the National Guard, got injured, had to miss work because he tore up his knee.
Mm-hmm.
And he was off work for a while. And under federal law, he was entitled to get his job back when he returned. But they told him, we don't have work for you. You know, you're out. Sorry, your position's been eliminated. And about a week after they did that, the same company posted an ad seeking people to do his job.
Whoa.
In the newspaper. And they hired people to do his job. So we wrote to them and said, you know, hey, you need to take him back, and they wouldn't do it. So I filed.
Wait, why wouldn't they do it? Like, what was their grounds for dismissal and like their adamant refusal to accept him back? Were there other issues?
No, he'd been a good employee, and he was a good guy, I thought, which is the second part of the story. I represented in the civil case. It was resolved after I left Kentucky and stopped representing him because I left the practice. But about 6 months later, it turned out he murdered 3 children.
What?
And he's
what?
He did that after I left. This is not related to my representation.
Okay.
This was a year.
Well, still, like, okay.
Oh, so he killed them like after the fact?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He raped a woman and attempted to kill her.
Oh my God.
And did kill her 3 children. So he's on death row right now. And he was one of my favorite clients. I would have told you he was one of the nicest guys. I even had thought about fixing him up with one of the staff members at the law firm I worked at.
Wow.
Yeah, which says something about my ability to judge character, I guess. But that had an impact on me.
Well,
Thinking,
you've given me a number of compliments on my character, so I wonder about...
And I wonder every day what you might actually do.
No,
what are you
no,
capable
no.
of, James Boyd?
I'm not capable of much, as my life has shown, so I wouldn't say I would be capable. Oh, even of evil in that. I'm sure there's some people out there that think otherwise. But not even approaching murder and rape, though. No.
Yeah, this was... You know, I'm not a huge fan of the death penalty, but if you're going to impose it, this is like the sort of thing you impose it on.
God, that's crazy. So, do you think something in his character came out in his former employer, but they weren't able to maybe put a finger on it? It wasn't documented, maybe? They just thought he was kooky and weird and scary?
I don't know. I spent a lot of time with this guy, and I thought he was wonderful. I thought he was a great guy. He was one of my favorite clients, and if you had told me, Scott, someone you know is going to rape someone and murder 3 children, he would not...
Are you sure he's the guy?
Oh, there's no doubt.
Really?
No doubt. They had great evidence on him, and he ultimately pled guilty. So
Oh, wow.
He was like, yeah, I did it. So, yeah, he did it.
What do you think? I mean, I don't know. You spent some time with this person. What do you think would motivate something? Do you think it was already in him or something snapped?
I don't know. And I'd love to find out, but I feel a little awkward writing to him and saying, you know, Kevin, why did you do that? But I don't know. I don't know how he would respond.
Wow.
I guess that's a question I have. Should I write to this guy? And because I'm really curious, and I liked the guy, and I almost feel...
Have you ever thought of like visiting him or something?
I have.
You have visited.
I have thought about it.
Oh, you thought about it. Okay.
But I don't get back to Kentucky that much, and when I do, going to the Eddyville State Penitentiary is not...
Yeah, but that sounds like this sounds like a movie. This sounds like the beginning of a movie or something like that. You could totally have, like, you know, like small town lawyer represents a guy that, you know, it's all chummy. You know, all the people, all the viewers are gonna fall in love with this character. It's probably like Matthew McConaughey-ish or something. Like everyone's like all, you know, he's all charming, whatever.
I kind of got the hair, so I could pull that off.
And then you know. Then it turns out he murders and rapes people and whatever, and then he goes to jail, and then you come back to investigate what's going on. Like in the movie, maybe it will turn out that he didn't really do it or something. Just put a twist or
No, this guy did.
Shawshank Redemption-ish.
Yeah.
No, maybe not. Maybe it's even better that he did it. And you're like trying to reconcile, and then he tells some crazy story about what led to that.
So you say I should reach out?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it could be an interesting novel or a TV or something. Not a TV show, but like a movie. I totally would watch a movie about a lawyer that goes back to because something's been gnawing at his brain because he was impressed by this guy, and then it turns out that he really went and did these horrendously crazy, nefarious things. And then you're like, dude, what the hell? I represented you here, and you were angelic and awesome, and then I turn around and you're blah blah. This happens, and scene missing. Next thing you know, rape and murder charges and conviction, and then fill in the blank scenes. And who knows? I mean, that could be. I mean, in the reality of it could be a stupid story, but in the fantasy of it, who knows? I mean, I can't even concoct it. What story would lead to such heinous turns of events?
Yeah, but he did it. No question.
Maybe you should do. Are you a writer? Do you ever write?
I would like to write. I'm a writer in the sense of like every person says like, oh yeah, I'm going to write someday.
You got a story right there, man. That's a good enough story, I think.
I think everybody who goes to college decides at some point that they're going to be a writer, and people don't do it.
You think so? I never wanted to be a writer.
You never wanted to be a writer?
Dude, I fucking hate writing stuff. I hate writing papers. I hate writing emails. I when I send emails, a lot of times I look for emails I sent before that are similar, and I just use those emails again, and I change the dates. That's all I do, because I hate writing stuff.
That explains why I get so many emails from you that like are addressed to Susan or someone else.
Yeah, sometimes I screw up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's all clear.
No, I don't like writing. I feel like you're under pressure. There's like some indelible quality to writing, and so you have to pick and choose your words, and I find so much pressure in everything that I say that I don't want it to be that way. Like in speech here, like this is because of the indelible quality of the interwebs. I was going to say
that what you're describing sounds a lot like this podcast. This is your form of writing.
I guess you can say that, but it's informal. I guess I could write informally, supposedly. I don't know. I just can't imagine, because I don't read all that much. I mean, mostly reference materials or motorcycle magazines or something like that, right? And a lot of nonfiction. I read a whole book on fuel systems. Like, it's not entertaining. Actually, I thought it was sort of entertaining, but anyway.
I'm going to wait for the movie of that one, James.
No, yeah, it's not movie worthy for sure. Actually, I would watch a movie about it. I would rather watch a movie than read the book again. But to me, it's like to me, I read because I need to get something. Like I every once in a while, like I read the Great Gatsby a few years back, just because I was like I had it because I inherited it from my dad, just getting rid of a bunch of books. And I decided I hadn't read in a long time, and I just read. And I don't know that I felt all that great about it, because I really just don't like sitting and reading. I hate it, but I'm into audiobooks. I love audiobooks.
Okay.
I just finished Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And I sometimes wonder, is it less for me that I didn't read it, and I listened to it instead? Or is it, you know what I mean? Is it still count as reading? I mean, listen to the whole thing.
It's different, and I think it depends on the author. Some authors I know write very much with an idea towards this is something you're going to hear out loud. So I'm thinking of what the words sound like together.
Yeah. Well, when you read it, though, isn't it sort of, I mean, maybe I'm the only one, but I'm pretty sure, don't you have an internal voice that reads those out?
I do.
What is that, anyway, and who are you reading to?
I don't know.
Because if it's you, why would you have to read it aloud to you? Who is the self that you're reading it to?
Now I'm going to be really self-conscious next time I read something. So thanks for messing me up.
Well, I mean, I didn't do it. It's already been there.
Yeah, but I was unaware of it, and I was quite happy.
I'm
being
sure
unaware.
you're aware. This is like some, I don't know, philosophical blah blah psychoanalysis crap. I don't know. There's a term for it, I'm sure, but yeah. But I mean, when you are reading, like, who are you reading to? And then so that becomes my question. Like, so I'm having someone else read it for me, so I'm just not using my eyes.
Yeah.
So that I would have to say it aloud in my mind to myself. Not aloud, like not to everyone else, but you still are reading it to the thing, like to your own brain.
Yeah, and as I
right?
think about it,
So like I feel like I know the book,
I feel like if
but I
you're
feel like I'm
reading
cheating
it,
myself
you're
too.
reading it.
You think so?
Like, I feel like if you're the one reading it, you're focusing more and paying more attention, and you're having more of a picture painted in your mind. But if someone's reading it to you, I feel like it's kind of like watching a movie. Like, you're hearing it, but you're not.
Well, that's true about inflection and stuff. Some people change in their inflection and whatnot, and I think that does mold it to some degree. But it's still a mental image. Someone's explaining. So as he's explaining something about, I mean, or I don't know, you didn't really necessarily explain in great detail a specific thing, but like I'm imagining this this guy that you're talking to, very pleasant guy, and blah blah whatever, all of these things, and that's painting a picture in my mind, and it's just those loose words that are.
and you do that whether
No matter
you're
what,
getting it off
yeah.
a page or if you're getting it from a tape.
So I'm all about audiobooks, man, because I'm always in the garage working on stuff, and I just play that, and I'll, like 5 hours later, I'm finished with a book, and I'm
fascinated.
done with like
Yeah.
a thing. So
I'm intrigued by this idea, though, now of the inner voice when you're reading, because that's definitely true as I think about it. If you were to show me like a picture of Elmo and a quote that he's supposedly saying, in my mind, I'm going to hear the Elmo voice.
you think so?
I'm not going to hear like James Earl Jones' voice if there's a picture
I think
of
you'll
Elmo.
hear your
So
own
you hear
voice.
your voice?
No, I'm hearing characters, I guess.
Really? Because if there was James Earl Jones and he said, and even if it said this is CNN underneath James Earl Jones' face, the first thing that comes out of my brain is this is CNN in James Boyd reading to himself in his own brain voice. Then I go back and connect it back to James Earl Jones, and then suddenly it becomes this is CNN
Yeah.
or something like that. You know what I mean? Now it's James Earl Jones' voice. But before that, it was just James reading to his brain. Whatever the self or
Yeah.
whoever that is, what I'm reading to. Anyway, that.
I
you
could
know.
be so easily manipulated, because if you put a picture of Elmo next to this is CNN, all of a sudden I'm hearing this is CNN in Elmo's voice, which would probably make me watch more CNN,
Think so?
frankly.
Yeah. I don't know. How did we even get on that topic anyway? I don't remember.
You were telling me I should write a book about,
Oh yeah, you
about
should write a
mass
book.
murder.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting.
buddy.
Or I mean, if you're going to. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I don't like writing because all that stress and whatever, and I typically don't read all that much. So to me, reading equates to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 'cause I only really read when I'm working on something, and so like I feel like I don't want to write something that someone's gonna have to work at. You know what I mean? To purposely work. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read your freaking book. Boo. Right? And now I'm thinking here, like right here, this is the audio thing. This is the audio book, The Void, really. I mean, because they're probably, someone's out there folding their laundry or whatever. The two people that are out there viewing right now, I think we had up to 3 at one point in time.
Just as long as we don't go negative. Just like we talked about before.
No negative.
I was concerned that I would be driving
I don't
people
really
off
know
the
how
board,
negative viewership
and in
works.
fact, driving people off the internet. I was convinced I was going to convince people to be Amish.
that you have ruined the internet for
Yes.
a whole grouping of people.
Yes, it was fun when it was like
Well,
funny
luckily,
cat videos.
the most we've got up to was 3, but we never know who cycled in and out during that time. So it could be up to like 5 or 6 actual people.
I'm going to tell myself people are going to catch this in the archives.
I think so. You know, I was just thinking about that today and thinking like, well, what should I expect for viewership and turnout? And I almost wonder like, what do I want, to have happen? Like, for instance, I'll give you an example, and this what brought the reality to me for a second. So I went to Chicago for a branch class I was teaching, and whenever I go to Chicago, I try my hardest to, and I've done it every time, to go to Subterranean Lounge for their open mic hip hop night. It's by far the best open mic hip hop night that I've ever been to. So I always try to go, and I mean the DJ knows who. I mean not the DJ, but maybe the DJ knows who I am. I bought him a shot, so he better remember me. No, the MC of the event knows who I am. So when I show up, even if it's been months and months and months, he recognizes me, and he always hands me the mic without fail. He'll always gets me in line in a good spot, so I don't have to wait to the end of the line. We're a lot of new guys. Like he'll let all the sort of tenured dudes up, and then you know, in the hierarchy, he'll let you in eventually. And so he'll put me on pretty quick. And I remember this. I've only one time has anybody ever come with me that I knew to the open mic event. And so usually it's just me by myself, and I just show up, and they recorded it. Right?
I
So
saw
some of the
that.
person-
That was
one
on
of the people-
Facebook. And,
Yeah.
and if people want to see it, it's there if you look back through your timeline.
Yeah, it's up there. It's on my YouTube, so for those of you that check the archives on YouTube, it's one of my videos I posted. So here's the thing. So I show my sister this video, right? And so she's got at least 500,000 Twitter followers, right? Probably even more than that. And she tweets it out to her Twitter followers. Next thing you know, I've got like 1,200 views on this thing, and suddenly I'm like, oh my God, who are these people looking at me doing this thing? I mean, yeah, I put it on YouTube. I didn't really care who saw it, but then it was like, whoa, now there's like all these people. I have no clue who they are. They aren't people that I told about this, and you know, and she thought it was really cool, so she tweeted it out. And also, I thought it was pretty cool that I got that many views, but at the same time, I'm like thinking, I've just now put myself out there for potential judgment of the world, you know what I mean? And so sometimes I wonder too, like, as this show grows, how do I really feel about that?
Yeah, did you find that exhilarating, or was it more of a negative thing, thinking like, it's one thing to have my friends see me, it's another to have people who maybe have a little bit of distance and who might not be rooting for me to
Sure, yeah. I mean, if you're a stranger to them, why would they care about your feelings or what you think? Which is fine, because I think as an artist, I get on the mic and do some freestyle stuff, blah, blah, blah. So I don't really think of myself in that echelon of someone creating art in that way. But, you know, I would put myself out there for, if I'm willing to go to Chicago and get on the stage in front of the entire bar and bust a rap to some beat, I don't even know what the guy's going to play, and he's changing it up as we go. And in front of like these freestyle champions, have been on BET and been on these competitions. Then at the same time, I'm thinking, well, I should be fine with anybody that sees me, which is okay. But I'll pose a question to you, for instance. If you were about to give a very, very personal tidbit of information right now on the show, and you knew someone found out about it that you didn't know found out about it, right? How would you feel about that?
I'd be uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You're sort of putting yourself out there for anybody to sort of have at, you know. And then I think about my sister, for instance. She's in Hollywood, and she's an actress, and she's got you know, like the paparazzi follow her around, and there's just incognito photos here, candid photos here and there, and then, like, you know, just things, anything you say gets quoted and then just disseminated out. And I'm a little bit worried about whether or not someone at work is hearing what I'm saying. And I've worked with maximum 800 people. So I'm worried about 800 people. And she has exposure to well over 500,000 Twitter followers, just on Twitter. Let alone, I think it's even much higher than that. That's just a while back. like, I wonder what that's like sometimes. And as this show progresses and more people get on it and spam it out to their network and of people, and if people start following, so I've got 45 followers of that. Who do I know and who's new to me, and what do they think? And I don't know any of those answers, you know. But if I keep getting more followers, then I feel like something must be right, and hopefully that it's okay, you know. But at the end of the day, I don't really know. I feel like I just have fun doing this, and I think it's really cool that the people I'm around are as interesting as they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to be a celebrity to be interesting
Yeah, you sometimes
or have a
find
story.
people, and the thing that always strikes me is they're all around us who have done amazing things. Like, you never know if the person you're walking by on the street is that guy who just raped and murdered 3
Oh,
children.
jeez, yeah. Well,
Or if they're like some sort of superhero who did something amazing. You know, there's this person maybe is an incredible surgeon or was a great or is a great writer, and you'd never know it, and they're just walking all around us. People have seen incredible things and we just don't know.
which and we were talking this before the podcast, but I'm going to bring it up again for our listenership out there. Which, you know, before I started teaching a class recently, I asked them a question based on you, actually, like influenced by you and your provocative questions. If you were going to be on a talk show, how should they introduce you? What would they introduce you as? And I thought this would be a really cool thing where if someone could like sort of brag about themselves a little bit and like, yeah, I'm whatever, you know, fisherman extraordinaire or angler extraordinaire, you know, or whatever. And it turned out that a lot of people like didn't feel like they had anything special to say, or they were embarrassed to say what they did. And it makes me wonder too sometimes is everybody's story interesting or not? Maybe it's not that interesting, you know. And I have to I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's all relative too. But it was really eye-opening. I felt really bad when I made it because I thought it was such a fun thing that you could. I'm this person because like I'm whatever hobby or passion I have, or even whatever work you do. You can just say that I'm that person. That's how you should introduce me. And people were just stumped left and right, like they didn't have anything to say. And I didn't know how to react to that.
As we were talking earlier, we were talking about how most people might describe themselves as being kind of sad. I would say, you know, like how would you be introduced on a talk show? Like, oh, the boring guy, or something like that. So I wonder if people view themselves, when they're viewing themselves from someone else's eyes, if they don't look as interesting as they really are. How well can people see themselves?
Yeah, I wonder if people selling themselves short, or I don't know, maybe they haven't accomplished anything that they really think is noteworthy.
I bet if you've done enough and like tried enough, you could probably find something. But I bet
There's got to be something.
I bet a lot of people though just don't, like, they think of like some crazy extraordinary thing and it hasn't happened to them, so they don't see anything that they do as interesting. But if you were to like ask them enough, and they, like, I'm sure they'd end up spilling something that you're like, oh yeah, that is pretty interesting, but they just don't recognize it themselves.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Well, you know, but I mean, here I am in front of a class or something. I don't have time to recognize it for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder if some of it is too, we
I just was
assume what we do
surprised.
is normal. Like you grow up and you assume every family is like your own, until you meet people with very different families, and you're
Like every Sunday you make a masterpiece painting and that's just what you did.
That's just what we do.
Or like I write a new, like, you know, orchestral like piece once a quarter because that's just what my dad used to make me do.
Yeah, you know.
Like, well, doesn't everybody do that?
Yeah.
Well, I would imagine, like, it's someone, even if you grew up doing that, you'd eventually realize that you're extraordinary in that regard, I would hope.
I don't know. Maybe you don't.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. Well, I wonder what the two viewers out there think about what they've done with their life. But I will say that it is 11:05. I think this is coming to the conclusion of yet, I believe, another awesome episode. I hope that the episodes are getting better and better. And for those of you out there listening to the archive or listening, thank you, the two people that are on right now listening. Give me some feedback. Post it on the chat stream. Put it in the comments section on Ustream or on YouTube, where it's also going to be. Let us know what you think. Let Scott know if you got any questions. I'm sure you'll be back on the show sometime. Would you want to be back on the show?
I'd love to come back. I'm certainly going to participate in the chat and listen and things.
Yeah, I've had you on before. You always got some good things. And before we end tonight, let's talk about the inspiration for the provocative question.
The provocative question. I will disclose this. I've told a few people this, but the provocative question really came about as a way of flirting. Really, it was something I found that I would use with girls.
Yeah.
To try to get them interested. And it seemed to be effective. So provocative question, making lists.
So you just thought of a bunch of provocative questions just to talk.
That was kind of a substitute for having like great conversational skills, as you've discovered over the course of this podcast.
What are you talking about? We just talked for well over an hour, and I don't feel like there was big lulls and
all right
or awkward. Were there awkward moments? Do you think there was awkward moments?
I couldn't tell you.
Moments. What was the best provocative question used upon the fairer sex?
I probably have to ask my wife that.
Well, if it won her over.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's the whole combination. It led to things. It led to just finding out about someone, and I use that with my classes at work, and everybody enjoys it, and I enjoy it, and I find out things I never would have guessed about people, and we get to know each other in a way that I think is really good.
Yeah, I agree. And on that note, I hope you guys all got a chance to know a little bit more about Mr. Kasierski here.
Who's coming up next week, James?
Next week, this better happen because my brother is going to be on next week, but he's also known for sometimes not showing up. Well, no, he showed up every time. I should be fair to him. There's one time I think a long time ago, but no, it's awesome. It's awesome when he is on, and maybe he might even be listening right now. He's pretty regular listener of the show. But if anybody out there is a physics fanatic or whatnot, but actually, I really want to ask my brother similar situation with this because he's been on the show before, but I never sat down and really asked him about him and where he is in life. I almost sort of assume these things, but as his brother, I sort of want to hear it from him what he thinks. But what I meant before about him showing up is he's currently pursuing his master's in physics, and so he's got lots of quiz tests and stuff going on and whatnot, and he might be studying, so he may or may not be able to come on.
Here's what I would propose. I would say that if he is able to explain it to an audience of lay people, like some of us who presumably, we don't have a lot of physicists listening to the Boyd other than your brother. If he can explain a concept to us, he'll nail it on his test.
Right. No doubt. Well, it's interesting. Sometimes he picks and chooses how he explains things. Like, he'll say something like, well, someone might ask a question in his more remedial class, and he'll give that answer whether or not it's right or wrong. And he told me a story where he was getting called out by student aides and his assistants, and they're like, well, that's not really true. Are you sure, John? And he's like, well, it's true enough for them. It'll give them the right answer on the test. And I wonder sometimes if he's doing that on the show. But that's what we need, because he's a smart guy. He's almost too smart. But on that note, we're gonna end it. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks, Keith, for giving us a call. Be sure to keep up for the next episode next Tuesday at 10.